Like grade school, stuff like that, we never thought about windshield there.
Yeah, it's pretty serious. Okay. Oh,
We lost Judy.
that's okay.
She's gone.
That's okay. We're in no hurry.
She gets to meet everything today.
Come on, Gene. Joan has to cook. She has to do the laundry. I think you can read.
I'm trying to write vegetable.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome to everybody that's here today. Why don't we open with a quick word of prayer? Lord, may the words of my mouth and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable in your sight. You are our strength and our Redeemer. May these words bear fruit in our lives, and may they bring glory to you. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Well, we are in chapter 17. We got a good start on it last week. I think we've got through verse 6. And in verse, we were introduced to the great prostitute or harlot, however you want to describe her. Do you remember who she is? Who is the great prostitute? Who is
Verse 5.
what?
We got verse 5.
Yeah, the great prostitute is another term for the false prophet, which is another term for the beast of the earth. Okay? So you remember earlier in Revelation we had we had the dragon, right? And then we had the two beasts, which was the dragon's henchmen. And then those two beasts were all the kings and all the authority and all the greed and corruption, all of those kind of things. It's interesting. I don't know how many of you have ever read these books by Bill O'Reilly, the Killing of books. They're actually quite interesting. The killing of JFK, the killing of Reagan, the killing of... he has one called The Killing of the Mob. And that's the one I'm in now. I think I've read all of them. I found this one at one of those Ollie's stores, And again, it talks about the corruption that has been part of part of the world, but especially part of our nation, and how that corruption, whether it was done through the 1930s and 40s gangsters and bank robbers, all that kind of stuff, but then it kind of morphed from there into what would be what we would recognize as being the mafia or the underworld, and how they determined the elections, how they stole votes, how they had their hands in the pot when the casinos were started in Vegas. And so it was that was all under organized crime. All of the casinos, all of Hollywood, all of the motion pictures and all of that was all under the control of the mafia. I think it's fascinating. Well, as we talk about these types of things here in Scripture, and we talk about that beast of the sea, there we are talking about corruption and kings and those in authority that use their authority to lord over over others, and that would include even these areas of organized crime or drug rings or whatever, you know what I mean. So that's all of that. And then we, of course, have the beast of the earth. That was the church in partnership, so to speak, with with the other beasts. That the church that would change its message for the sake of staying together with the world, all that kind of stuff. All right, so that beast has had a couple name changes. And the previous one was false prophet, as Bev said, and now, of course, is the prostitute, and or harlot, or whatever your Bible says. And so that's where we spent most of our time last week, was on that prostitute, and verse 6 ended our last. The last section. When I saw her, I marveled greatly. And when you see that type of a phrase, don't look at it from the standpoint of marveling at her like wishing I was her or something like that. When we use that term, I'll watch. Let's say. I watched all the ladies that were making the gingerbread houses. And they were really, it was just beautiful. And I marveled over what they were doing. I was enamored by it. That's not what this marveled means. This marveled means that I couldn't believe this was happening. Okay? It doesn't necessarily have a good connotation to it. All right. So that gets us through where we ended last week. Now, verse 7, why doesn't somebody read, let's say, verse 7 and 8?
And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and go into the perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not, and yet is. Okay.
All right. Something tells me you're reading from a King James version there, aren't you? Okay. All right. I don't know that I had that many these and thous and therefores in quite a while. Okay. So we have the harlot who is in the steady diet of the blood of people. She's kind of in this drunken stupor. She is drunk. I think the best way to understand that, she's drunk with power, right? That's what it's really saying to us here. Well, now what happens is we have the angel who is going to, be explaining this. Again, the statement that ended chapter 6, I marveled at her. But the angel said to me, why are you marveling? Why are you surprised by this? Why are you amazed by this? We can use that term in our world. When you think about it, we see what's happening in the world around us, and the corruption that is going on, and the power people pitting each other, pitting the poor and the downtrodden against others, and they blame, each side is blaming the other side, and all of this is going on, right? Go on to any news, any news talk show, any news commentary, and I don't care, CNN, the major networks, Fox, whatever the case may be, and they are discussing this all the time, and they're discussing it really under the banner of, I can't believe this is happening. or I don't know how this is happening, or I don't know why this is happening. And there's this whole genre of television now, or podcast, or whatever the case may be, that is built on people that are just, trying to just describe what they think is happening and why it's happening, right? I mean, it's just, and yet as the church, we know why it's happening. Why?
The devil is working really hard.
Because it really is. It is much more simple than what the world, but because the world does not want to believe that in Jesus and in sin and in the forgiveness, and they don't want to believe in that. Now they have to try to figure out, well, why is this going on? And under the idea that if we could figure out what is going on and why this is happening, I can fix it. Yes. Yeah, we want to fix it ourselves. Where as the church, we can say, well, this is sin. This is the first commandment all over the place. I'm better than God. I know better than God. I want to focus on myself first. So I will be happy to use somebody, and I will use them as best as I can. I might, I will talk about being benevolent, but I will only be benevolent to a certain extent, to when it gets me where I need it to get me. So we use people. And we use our spouses, we use our parents, our we find ways of leveraging our the places we work with and for, and our neighbors, and our all of that kind of stuff. And this is all a product of sin. And yes, we recognize that in the church. That's why we confess it. That's why we confess. And so here, the reason I say that is because here they were, when I saw this drunken power of the beast, I marveled at it. The angel said, "Why are you marveling? Why are you? You know what it is. You know what it is." And so the angel is going to go on, and and says, "I will tell you the mystery of the woman." And so here he is going to unpack the mystery for it's going to be explained to him. And so now look at it of the woman and the beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns that carries her. So you remember from last week, that was the scarlet beast. We talked all about that. And so here, now we are going to, he's going to talk about the both beasts again. And that beast that you saw was and is not and is about to rise from the bottomless pit and go to destruction. Okay. So, notice here that John, who marveled at this beast, who couldn't believe what he was seeing, what is the first thing that the angel says about that beast? Actually, the both beasts, the harlot and the beast that she's riding on. What's he say? Yeah. I think that's the best. That to me is the best piece of this, is that it wasn't the angel's not going into any long description of this is going to happen, that's going to happen, all that kind of stuff. The very first thing that the angel says is this is going to be destroyed. So again, remembering the purpose of the book of Revelation, which is to bring comfort to the church. Look at how the angel responds to John being overwhelmed by what he's seeing. He is in essence, the angel is in essence saying to John, don't have any fear. The beast is going to rise, but it's going to rise to its destruction. And the dwellers on the earth, whose names have not been written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, they're going to marvel to see the beast. Because it was and is not and is to come. And so what the angel is saying here is, don't marvel. Because those who marvel, those who become enamored with the beast and who she is riding on, what's going to happen to them? The same thing. That's what he's saying here. So don't marvel at this. Because they are going to be destroyed. Okay. So, verse 9. Someone want to read verse 9 and 10?
Pastor, one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the end of 8, where it says the beast, because he once was, now is not, and yet will come.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Now, what does that sound like?
Yeah.
Okay.
It does sound like that.
It does. Okay. It's like the opposite. See, Jesus says who was, who is, and who is to come. And now listen to how the beast is described. The beast is described as one who wants to be like that, but who isn't. Who was, and how did they say it again?
Will be forever.
Yeah. Yeah, who was, because it was and is not and is to come. You see what I mean? And so while the beast proclaims to be the Christ, or in the case of the harlot or the prostitute who claims to be of Christ, the Jesus' words, the who was and is to come, we see this kind of like this twisting of those words, and they aren't. So they're not God, and they will end in utter destruction. Okay, all right, that's what it is saying. So I'm glad you caught that, because it was a play on exactly what Jesus is called in a couple of instances throughout Revelation. So, yes. All right. So now you got 9 and 10.
This calls for a mind of wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. There are also 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, the other has not yet come. But when he does come, he must remain for a little while.
Okay. All right. So now we have this calls for a mind with wisdom. All right. So now when we see that again, we have to kind of define what is wisdom, and defining and again how the Bible describes wisdom. How does the Bible, any thoughts of how the Bible describes the one who is truly wise? Or, Well, yeah, Solomon, he was certainly at times, but when it describes wisdom itself, what is wisdom? I mean, we use that term. There's some people that will talk about being smart, right? And there's some people that talk about being wise. What's the difference between being smart and wise? Any thoughts? At least from an earthly understanding.
Wise is deep understanding.
Wise would be a deep understanding, okay? Any other thoughts?
They're smart, but they know how to use it.
Okay. Yeah, there's so smart, what's smart? Smart would be the retaining of knowledge. So there is, and we use different terms for smart, don't we, in our world? What are some of the terms that we use for smart? We have book smart, right? And you had some of your children maybe that were extremely book smart, right?
You have people that are book smart, but dumber than a rock.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, and describe that. Yeah.
You have people that
Yeah.
really have the book knowledge.
Yeah.
And I've had that on construction, but when it comes to the practical construction, they have no
To
idea.
apply.
what they're doing.
So yeah, they can spout off the numbers and the figures, but they can't apply it to anything. Yeah.
Common sense.
So yeah, there'll be common sense in there. Yeah, so we talk about book smart. We also talk about street smart, right? There will be those that maybe were not. They didn't or couldn't retain the what would be taught from the standpoint of an education system, and yet they seem to be able to apply those those things in the workplace. You'll see how many of the multimillionaires and billionaires have you ever read stories about that were high school or college dropouts, and yet have become, and so you see, we see that, and oftentimes they will use the term that they are wise, at least wise to the ways of the world. They know what is wise to the ways of the world is to know how to use the talents of yourself and of others to your advantage. That's what being wise in the ways of the world would be. Remember, Jesus even talked about that. He would say, when you're in the world, use those things in the world to get ahead in the world. And he would say, and he spoke of that to unbelievers especially, and he said to use that. Why? Because that's all you're going to have in the end. But we are to take what we learn, from all of our forms of education, and we are to then use them to benefit ourselves and our neighbors and our families and our communities and our world around us. And we're supposed to use all of those things. But when the Bible talks about wisdom, the Bible actually goes. If you go to Solomon, the Songs of Solomon, you go to the book of Job. In those books of poetry area of God's Word, wisdom is actually personified. Wisdom is given a proper. If you look in there, wisdom actually has a capital W. Okay, and that is because wisdom is a person. Who is wisdom? Jesus. Jesus is the wisdom of God. And so when the Bible talks about wisdom, it is always talking about seeing anything. Seeing God, seeing the world, seeing Satan, seeing yourself through the eyes of Christ, through Jesus himself. And so wisdom, true wisdom is knowing Jesus. And what I mean by knowing Jesus is knowing Jesus as is the Messiah, the one who has come to take sin and to restore and to pay the price for it and to restore back to the Heavenly Father. That is the wisdom of God. And so, the wisdom of God, when we talk about the wisdom of God, it is just like the peace of God. It goes beyond our understanding. Because the wisdom, here's a great way anybody wants to know what the wisdom of God is. The wisdom of God is that he would enter this world as a baby. So he would take upon himself human flesh, that he would take also upon himself all of sin. And that he, God, would suffer and pay the price of that sin on a cross for you. And in turn, will give you his righteousness. That's the wisdom of God. Now, that wisdom of God goes beyond anything that we can describe, like we talked about before. As in our world, what do? Is we try to figure out what's going on here because we think we can fix it. But the wisdom of God what does the wisdom of God tell us? Is that we can't. The wisdom of God tells us, as we heard from Jesus in the Gospels, you will always have the poor among you. You will always have the homeless and the hungry. You will always have those who are going to hate me. You are always going to have this. Okay? And it is in the midst of that we are to love God and to love our neighbor. So we are to love our neighbor in spite of the fact that we can't fix them. We are to love we're to love this creation even though we can't fix it. We can still care for it and love it. We can still love we can still respect and acknowledge the government that has been set before us. And we can still follow its rules whether we like them or not, unless they go directly against God. It means that even though it feels unfair, the amount of tax we have to pay or whatever the case may be, we still do it. That's the wisdom of God. And so when we see here in this text, to understand this beast and who's riding on another beast, and what you're going to see means that you are going to have a mind of wisdom. That you're going to have to see this through the lens of Jesus, through the lens of God. That's what the angel is saying here. That what you are going to see, because if you don't look at it that way, you are either going to be in a response of no hope, or a loss of hope, or you are going to become enamored with them, and you are going to succumb to them. And you are going to say, well, I guess this is what it is. And so if I want to get along, I'm going to have to be a part of this. So, but the wisdom of God, when you see it through the eyes of Jesus, when you see it through Him, we can look at what is happening, and we can be steadfast in faith and in proclamation and in bold witness and in confidence that there's an end, that there's an end that is coming here, even though they may seem to be the more powerful. they are headed for an eternal destruction. And that's what the angel is saying to us here. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman is seated. Narrow context. He's really talking here about symbolically the 7 hills was another term that was used to point toward the city of Rome. So again, remember they'll use the in the immediate context they'll use Rome, or you'll see the use of Babylon, and it's really to describe this beast that is the corrupt world. At that time, the corrupt world was Rome. Earlier than that, it was Babylon. Earlier than that, it was Egypt, though Egypt didn't start that way. I mean, Egypt under the early pharaohs and especially under Joseph, was actually quite benevolent but it was over time. It was after the generations past Joseph that Egypt became a superpower and B, a corrupt superpower. And we saw what happened with them. Destroyed. Then there was Babylon. There was nothing more powerful than Babylon in all the world. They were destroyed. And we will actually see that term Babylon coming up again later as we get into towards these last chapters of Revelation. But here then in the narrow context, what is being referred, what John is seeing, of course, is Rome. And it's because Rome is the current superpower. But for us, we need to look at it as this conversation doesn't end with Rome. Because if it just ended with Rome, then there's no meaning for us, right? It really is based on all of the. It's based on all of the superpower, all of the corrupt power, all of those that desire to be God or to play God, that type of thing, and so. That, I think, is important. And again, as it talks about the 7 kings, it's talking about some that have come, some that are gone, and they're gone, but also some that will come. Remember what you saw before. So again, it's not just talking about Rome. This when it talks about the 7 kings, it is talking about all the kings, past, present, and future. And so that is what we are seeing here. And so it's going to take special understanding to understand what all that means for the saints of God, past, present, and future. And so that, I think, is really critical for us. And so what's dangerous in this, and others that have interpreted Revelation, is they try to apply it to, well, what 7 kings are we talking about? And they try to actually name specific kings. But that is, and then, of course, there's 7 kings, and then it'll say that there's another one that has not yet come yet, who will come. And so they'll name the 7 kings, and then maybe that 8th king might be Nero, because that's the one who will come, and as he destroys Jerusalem, and he'll destroy Jerusalem, and eventually he'll be destroyed too. And so again, they try to apply it to, well, what kings were they talking about, and then the one that is to come, but which would have been Nero. But again, as we take a look at this and understand that it is this is a vision, that this is apocalyptic pictures, we look at the 7 kings and the one that is to come as what? It would mean all those that have come and any ones that are going to come in the future. Yes, that's how we should understand this. That's how you take a look at this, and that is, and all of them, and the 10 horns. Okay, and so this is an important thing to kind of understand this picture here. It just serves as a model for all types of earthly rulers, all types of power that they exercise, all of those kind of things, okay? And in particular, and the important thing is, this is always, as it is seen in opposition to the Church of Christ. Now, I mean, it is true that there are some rulers that are there that are benevolent and faithful to the word and rule in justice and all of that. But what this is really speaking of is all of those that aren't. Okay, so I mean that's really important, and then we show here that the other is not yet come, and when he does come, he must remain only a little while. Okay, so again, as we take a look at this, we've seen all of this in the past, but now in chapter 17, we've talked about how 17 is now the image of what? It is the image of the very end. It is the image of those final moments or days, whatever it's going to be, and then ultimately Christ coming. And so as it says here, that they are going to remain only for a little while. We've talked about the fact that they are that these beasts are going to be unleashed. Satan is going to be unleashed for a short period of time. And that's what we're starting to see here. This is a part of that description. And we said that it is going to be so terrible that it can only last just a little while, and we don't know what that little while is. But I think for us to, as we take a look at it through the lens of Revelation and what we've already learned about Revelation, how might it be depicted? I mean, what might this look like? Can you imagine for a moment what this might look like, that Satan would be loosed, that he would be free to, that he would be no longer in chains, so to speak. Understand that Satan is still working hard on, like Melody said, on every one of us, and yet he is still in chains. His power is limited. Okay? But there's going to be this point when he is released right at the end, when his power is not going to be in chains. What's that going to look like?
He'll be attacking Christians, churches, true churches. I mean, he'll be, I don't know.
Yeah. That's my point, is let's think about this once. And just so that we could, because I mean, obviously as we read this, we immediately want to go to the supernatural. That there's, all of that. And yet, understand that the way that Satan works, at least as we've understood through Revelation, is he is working through whom? The two beasts. Okay? So say the two beasts get their direction from the dragon, but it is the two beasts that carry out all of the evil deeds. Okay? So, having understood that, now, when Satan is unleashed, what might that look like? How might we be able to apply that, at least with our feeble human minds? How might we be able
I
to?
was thinking about what happened last night, in Rhode Island.
What happened last night in Rhode Island?
There was a mass shooting at Brown.
Oh, the one at Brown University, yeah.
And then also, Australia, they had a Hanukkah celebration.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh-huh.
and I think there were 8 killed.
Okay. All right.
So that's kind of,
Yeah.
stuff is
Yeah. Can you now? Right now, can you imagine a world where there is? Okay. What is the greatest of the commandments?
The first one's a love.
What? Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. Okay? So, if that's the greatest of the commandments, imagine if those are no longer applied. Imagine, think about what happened in Rhode Island, what happened in Australia, and we still have some form of civil obedience. We still have a police force that is intact, even though we can talk about the corruption. We can talk about corruption there. We can talk about all those kind of things. You use that term, defund the police. What happens if there is no longer police protection? What happens if there is no longer what happens if there's no longer an organization like the one you work for that cares for adults? It's all gone. That is now complete. It's either complete corruption or completely gone. What happens when a nation completely takes over? Takes over everything that you've earned. So everything you earn, they take. Everything that, when there is when there's no longer any protection for any sin or sickness, or is there something going on behind me, or?
No,
Oh, okay.
it's just gonna help some people.
Oh, okay. So imagine now what our world looks like when these pieces are still in place. When Satan is unleashed and he works through the church, and he's working through the world. This is what we're probably looking at here is going to be a complete abandonment of loving God and loving your neighbor.
And you see that in the world.
And we're seeing glimpses of it. You're exactly right. Yeah, we're seeing what appears to be big glimpses, right? Imagine if that's all. I think where the mind goes, though, is imagine if once it gets to a point where that's all there is. That's the point. And so that is how when you want to understand, well, what does it mean when Satan is going to be unleashed at the end? Imagine what we see as truly evil today, if that's all there is.
Isn't there someplace, I can't even remember where in the Bible, that says that
sons and daughters will be against their parents.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
the husbands and wives will be against each other.
Yeah, and Jesus is warning. Jesus warns us there that goes on now. But again, imagine when that's all there is. I think that's what I want you to kind of keep in mind as we get to the final moments just before Jesus comes, when Satan is unleashed. Imagine the horrors that we see in our world today when that's all there is.
Wouldn't it be total destruction?
Well, you would think so. You'd think we would be trying to destroy ourselves. Yeah, you would. I mean, we always hear that, don't we? Well, with all the nuclear bomb, we can destroy this world. But really, what do is we use the threat of them against each other, and what happens if we do? What happens if they do unleash some of them, and it now causes nothing but horror and suffering. So imagine now a world where the only thing left is suffering. Right now we have suffering, but there's balances. There are still, I mean, our lives aren't totally suffering. There's a lot of it, but, there's a lot of joy-filled things that go on. Imagine when all there would be is suffering. And that is the picture that is trying to be shown to you here. Is that's what's going to happen, and yet it is going to be for a short period, and that will come to an end. That's what the angel is saying to John. It will come to an end.
Now, is he talking about coming to an end on the judgment?
Yes, absolutely. It means everything has its end at the day of judgment. Okay, period. Now, for some of us, it has its end when we breathe our last breath, if we don't make it to the day of judgment. But ultimately, it ends at the day of judgment, which means it has an end date. And so that's when it talks about it being a short period of time, it means it has an end date. It won't go on forever. It may feel like forever, but it's not forever. And it is all in God's timing. And why is it continuing to go on yet? Why is God allowing or enabling suffering to continue to happen now? Why?
Are you asking that question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's so that we will learn to come closer to him.
Mm-hmm.
Trust him.
Learning to come closer. I think that there's definitely truth in there that we cling to Him alone. But I think it goes one step deeper than that, and that is that it is also to draw others that aren't close to Him to Him.
Well, that's kind of
Yeah.
included that one.
I think that's important for us to understand. It's the work of it is still going because of the work of the church. It's because the work of the church is not done. So I think the best way for me to describe it is if somebody says, why is the world still going on today? Because there are still those who are going to be brought to faith. We don't know where they are. They might be right here in our back door, or they might be in some other part of the world. But there is still someone to be brought to faith. And so because of that, we are given, and this is hard for folks to understand, we are given the privilege or the honor of suffering during this time so that God's work can continue. He is giving you the privilege of being here in this suffering. Sounds kind of strange, but that is a privilege given to you as his church. And it is because that message is not complete. And so we are to continue to proclaim, confess Jesus crucified and resurrected, because one day there will be a day when that won't be happening anymore, when it can't happen anymore. And that day the world as we know it is going to end. Jesus will come and he will say there is no more time. And there will be those that are going to say, but Lord, and he's going to say, like your kid, like you used to have to say to your kids, I've heard all the buts, right? And it's at some point when your kid says, but mom, but dad, but mom, but those work only to a certain point. And then after that, that's it. Well, the same thing happens here. But Lord is only going to happen for a short period of time. And whatever that short period of time is, only God knows. But what Revelation is pointing us to is when that time is done, it's going to be immediate. And that is what we are seeing here. Okay. So, verse 12 somebody want to do, where are we at? 12 to 14. Let's see what we can do about getting through this.
The 10 horns we saw are 10 kings who have not yet received a kingdom, but who for the 1 hour will receive authority as kings along with the beast. They have one purpose and will give their power and authority to the beast. One more verse.
14, yeah, go ahead.
They will make war against the Lamb, but the Lamb will overcome them because he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and with him will be his call. With him will be his called, chosen, and faithful followers.
Okay. All right. So the 10 horns that you are seeing here are 10 kings who have not received royal power. What does it mean? They haven't received royal power. They haven't received power from God. They haven't received power from God, but they are to receive authority as kings that they're receiving from the devil for what? For 1 hour along with the beast. So what does that mean?
Very short time.
Short time. They are not receiving power from God. They are receiving authority from the beast, but that's going to have an end. All right. And what are they going to do? And look at what's going to happen. They're going to make war on the Lamb, and the Lamb will conquer them. Okay, so note here that all of this is not necessarily talking about how mankind will be cruel and unkind to mankind, right? This is all talking about how the beast, the world, and the prostitute or the unfaithful church or the false church, how they are going to be attacking the church. They're going to be attacking, and notice how they're not just attacking church. They're not just attacking the idea of religion. That's not what it's saying here. Look what it's saying. Who are they attacking? The Lamb. They are attacking, what does that mean? They are attacking Jesus Christ is the Messiah. Okay? So they're going to do it all kinds of ways. And one of them is, there's all kinds of ways to heaven. Or there is no heaven. So it's all of that. They're going to attack the Lamb, and what is the next line? And they're going to lose. The Lamb will conquer them. Because he is Lord of lords, he is King of kings, and those who are with him are called and chosen and faithful. That's who he's talking. And so again, note these words in Revelation is given to the church. So he's telling John, they're not going to win. The Lamb wins, and you, as a follower of the Lamb, are his called and faithful. Have no fear, little flock, right? That's what he is saying to you. All right, where are we at? We've got 2 minutes. All right, let's see what we can do. 15 to the end of the chapter. Somebody, my fastest reader.
Then the angel said to me, the waters you saw where the prostitute sits are peoples, multitudes, nations, and languages. The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute. They will bring her to ruin and leave her naked. They will eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For God has put it into their hearts to accomplish his purpose by agreeing to give the beast their power to rule, until God's words are fulfilled. The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth.
Okay, so here, angel said, the waters that you see where the prostitutes are, all of this, it's this idea that Jesus, God gives you what you want. Okay, God gave Pharaoh what he wanted. Pharaoh wanted his heart hardened, and God gave it to him. All the plagues, one after another after another. Pharaoh wanted his heart hardened. Pharaoh wanted heart hardened. Pharaoh wanted, and finally, God says, "If this is what you want, this is what I'm going to give you." And so, really, this whole last paragraph is about that. This is what they want. This is what the prostitute wants. This is what the beast she is riding on wants. They are made up of all of these people. This is what they want. And so let them have what they want, and let that literally devour them. And another term for letting it devour them and burn them up with fire is let it harden their hearts. That would be another term that we would use. That was Old Testament term. Their hearts were hardened. And so their own power, their own desire to pretend they're God, to attack the church, God eventually lets them have exactly what they want. Okay? And until the words of God are fulfilled, until God ends it all. Okay? And that's what we are seeing here. And so here, as we close 17 says, they are unleashed and they are given everything that they want. You've been wanting this for centuries, for millennia. Now you're going to get it, and they're going to have it. They're going to have it for a short period of time, but then it's going to be over. And then when we get to chapter 18, this will be the fall. So what chapter 17 is that what we're seeing now is pointing toward, and it'll be all culminated in their desire, the sinful desires, and their sinful desire to attack the church is going to be let loose. Okay, this is what you want. I'm going to give it to you. It's going to only be for a short period of time, because otherwise, like Gene said, it'll be total destruction. But you're going to have it. But that's all you're going to have. And in the end, like he says, what he's telling John and the church, they aren't going to win. They're going to think they're going to win, but they aren't winning. Okay? That's chapter 17. So we will go with 18. Just a note, this coming Thursday, there is no Bible class. So our next Bible class for Thursdays is going to be January 8th. And so, the next 3 weeks we are off, and we'll come back January 8th. And on January 8th, we're going to do a study on the Star of Bethlehem. We're going to do it's a documentary that I want you to see, because we're going to be at Epiphany, and it's going to be a great opportunity to be able to see this documentary. And I think it's just outstanding as we talk about the Star of Bethlehem, and we take a look at Scripture to describe the star and what it might be, and really what is it pointing toward. So, okay? So just so you're aware, no Bible study Thursday. Next one is the 8th. But I'll see everybody here Sunday for, we'll get into 18.